All right, so here we are at the BlueSox Academy for the DaddyBall podcast. I am Bryan.
I am Tom.
And here we've got former BlueSox instructor, currently with the Miami Marlins, Mr. John Franchi. John, how's it going?
Everything's going good. Thanks, Brian.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Congratulations on your move down south. It made us all feel happy, and So
No, we're just kidding. No, we definitely miss you up here. It's definitely been everything's been growing and growing, and the kids are progressing nicely. A lot of the kids that you worked with.
They still miss him though. I have heard them say we miss John. So it's you did good up here, bud.
Yep. So
definitely good to know.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of obviously you grew up down on Long Island. You played high school travel baseball. Went to Utica College and played, then got involved with the Utica BlueSox. So give us a little bit of background on your journey through baseball to the point where you are now working with the Miami Marlins.
All right, so baseball.
The short version.
Sure. For me, baseball's kind of been my life, my passion. It's in a way the only thing I really know. But I started playing ball when I was really young. I want to say for about 10, 11 years, my father coached me growing up, and a lot of what I was taught, a lot of what I've learned from him over the years is ultimately what I ended up implementing in my teachings and my instruction. But prior to getting to that, playing ball-wise, I had the opportunity to play 2 years with Camden County College, junior college out of Blackwood, New Jersey. And then I transitioned my last 2 years to Utica College, ended up finishing my collegiate career with them, where I also ended up graduating with my bachelor's in communications and media, which is a key component in helping me land this position here with the Miami Marlins. But yeah, again, baseball is the short version, the pride and joy, I guess you could say, of my life. It's what, kind of keeps me going. It's what I love. It's what I'm passionate about. And ultimately why I am continuing working in the baseball world.
Awesome. So, you got dipped into coaching last year, and not just last year, but you were coaching a travel team as well as instructing. And I've been telling a lot of people that there's a big difference in when you're coaching a kid one-on-one and when you get in a game and then you have to worry about the entire roster to try to formulate a game plan and win. So in your opinion, based on your experiences, what have you felt are some of the differences between instructing and then coaching?
I think one of the biggest challenges that I kind of found myself in was building the personal relationships with the athletes during the one-on-one lessons, getting to know not only them, but who they are outside of the baseball world, how they are in school, how they are with their families. I mean, when you start to build a rapport with these kids, they start to open up and they start to share, and every kid has a different life journey, so to say, and not every kid is either brought up the same way or taught the same, values or whatever the case may be. So building that personal relationship with the kids one-on-one, and then again, kind of transitioning to that team aspect, the mindset, kind of like you said, Brian, the mindset's it's a completely different mindset. That idea and that factor of everything that has happened, in that kid's life up until that point that's been shared, is not necessarily a front brain thought, I guess you could say, especially when you are coaching the team, because at the end of the day, it's a team game. Baseball is a team game. There's, even at the pro level, it doesn't matter if you're Mike Trout, Shohei, Ortani, not one person is a difference maker for a team. It takes 9 collective guys to win a game.
Those 2 guys that are the best in the game, and the Angels are still terrible.
But again, it just goes to show there's not one set guy that we can ultimately rely on 24/7 and say, hey, listen, we're going to put you in that situation, bottom 9, 2 outs, 3-2 pitch, bases loaded on every single occasion. You're going to come up for us. We can never rely on that one, single person. So, it's definitely a tough transition, because again, it's building that relationship, and then in a way, the kid might think you're treating them differently when you're coaching the team. But the biggest struggle that I found myself able to overcome was being able to have that personal relationship, being able to have that team relationship, and still being able to pull kids away, whether it's before a game or after a game, and kind of give them that pep talk and instill in their minds, not only is this a team game, but the reason why I get on top of you in certain situations, the reason why, I raise my voice in certain situations is not because I'm mad at you. It's not because you didn't do good. It's because I'm trying to teach you, and that's, I think, very important to know, because the last thing that I ever wanted my kids to do was fear me. I never really, as aggressive as I am, I never really wanted to come off as that fearful coach. I wanted to be, a guy or a coach that a kid felt comfortable coming up to, whether it's asking a question, whether it's what do I have to do to improve my game. And I think I did a pretty good job with that. But again, I think the toughest part is finding that differential between that one-on-one personal lesson versus the team gatherings.
I think at the end of the day, it's you're the coach. We're not there. We're we want them to, I guess, like us and not fear us, as John just said. But we're trying to coach and make you better rather than be your friend. It's the easiest way I can say it. So.
And I think the beautiful part of our game, baseball, softball, or really in any sport, is that you can be tremendous as an X's and O's coach, or a practice preparation coach, but you can also be down in those areas. I've seen some tremendous coaches, in this area, high school wise, that weren't necessarily a baseball guy or a softball guy. They were like, maybe their thing was a wrestling coach, or they were a track coach, but they can coach and they inspire the kids to play hard. And I think that a big part of coaching is getting the kids to play hard for you and run through a wall for you. And I think that's what, I noticed when you were here, you did really well, is the kids really loved playing for you and they worked hard for you. So, regardless of maybe lack of experience or X's and O's, this, that, if you get the kids to play hard, you're going to be successful. So,
John, refresh my memory. Were you the 12U or the 14U for Junior BlueSox?
So I was the 14U head coach.
Region. Okay, yeah. All right. My son, I don't know if you remember him from Sundays breaking Stamboli's balls, but he made the 12U Junior BlueSox team this year. So he's
very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. This is his first travel thing that I'm putting more emphasis on even than Little League. But
I like it. Very cool. Very cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So you talked earlier about, like with a baseball game, you can't just rely on that one person. You have to, there's a multitude of pitchers, there's a multitude of people on the bench. Even more so, than my sport with softball. Like you can just get an ace pitcher in there that can just go and mow everybody down, and that can fill a lot of holes. But with baseball and the new rule of the universal DH, it kind of eliminates some of the strategy in the National League. So you working with a National League club, what are your thoughts on that? You like it, hate it? Give me your feedback.
I think for our organization, I think it's going to be very beneficial. I think it's something, in a way, I think it kind of ruins the strategic aspect of the game. But in a way, it also benefits the strategic aspect of the game. The strategic mindset would be pitchers not having to worry about an at bat or even more so being on base. And what do I mean by that? Well, I remember back when I was playing JUCO ball, I remember our head coach, we had a rule whenever a pitcher got on, and there was quite a few teams, not only in our conference, but teams that we played where I guess it's more predominant in JUCO than it is in NCAA, but pitchers, we found ourselves in situations where pitchers were batting, whether it be the reliever, the closer in certain situations, and they would get on base. And what our coach would instruct us to do, and teams hated us for it, coaches knew it was coming, But we would have our pitcher purposely pick off 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in a row, to the point where the pitcher was no longer even taking a lead and our guy was stepping off, throwing over to first. The reasoning for this was because our mindset was, let's tire that pitcher out. He's going to head first slide back in. He's going to run back to the back. The more we can tire him out on the base path, the less efficient he's going to be on the mound.
Yep.
So I think, and now don't get me wrong, that's a mindset that is, I believe, implemented more so at that high school, college level. It's a very strategic mindset to have, but it's one less thing pitchers have to worry about now. Minus the at-bats, not even have to worry about, unless you're Shohei Ortani, not having to worry about being on base. Although I did read that they did come out with a Shohei Ortani rule. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
No, I don't.
No, I haven't heard it. No.
So they came out with a new rule, and the rule is, if you are a pitcher, if you're the starting pitcher, also the DH in the lineup, you are able to remain the DH throughout the game, even if you are removed as the pitcher. But it's only allowed for starting pitchers.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of like some rules in softball with the flex and the DP. It's almost like another position, so you could remain. It's like another position. So if Shohei is in the lineup, he can still hit when he's pitching,
even if they take him off.
When he's pitching, and even when he's taken out as pitcher, he'll still remain in the lineup.
He can go to the DH.
He can stay the DH the entire game. Pull him off the mound.
And the only way he'd be removed would be is if he was substituted in for it, similar to any other situation in baseball.
How much money did the Angels?
I want to know how much money was spent on that rule too. But
so here's a coaching question. Jake DeGrom for a portion was one of their best hitters. Does he still hit?
Well, I mean, again, you can make that argument with Greinke, with Bumgarner maybe 7 years ago. But there's definitely pitchers out there who swing it. I think, to be honest with you, I think with the amount of money that's being spent and the continuation in years and the advancement or the higher pays, I should say, I think baseball has gotten to a point where it's I don't really know how to say it. I think it's gotten soft, I guess would be the best way to put it. We're paying X amount of money for you to pitch, not to hit. It's great to see Bartolo Colon get in the box and hit a home run. Everybody would love to see it. And I'm very thankful I got the opportunity to see it. Something I'll probably never be able to see again.
Exactly.
But there's, I look at that, or I think about that old saying, records are meant to be broken. And again, I look back today, you got guys like Cy Young, guys like, Joe DiMaggio, but most recently, Pete Rose. There will never be another hit king again. It's physically never going to happen. And the reason why it's never going to happen is, number one, nobody's willing to play 25 plus years in the majors, or I'm sorry, 23 plus years in the majors. And number two, show me somebody that's going to have 200 plus base hits 23 years in a row. That's the only way you're going to beat that record. And the reason why I don't believe that record will ever be broken is, again, these players get paid way too much money. Think back to when Garrett played, Mantle played. These guys will play through broken fingers, broken wrists, sprained ankles, Today, if you're a $30 million shortstop and you tweak your pinky, you're on the DL 10 days. And it's and if it's healed but it's not healed 100%, we're going to give you another 10 days. So that I think back to that, and I think about the income for athletes today, and it's really kind of putting a strain on that statement. Records are meant to be broken, because soon enough these records will never be broken. I look at the NFL, granted a completely different sport than baseball, but the average time span in the NFL is, what is it, 3-4 years?
3 years.
The average player? 3 years. So baseball, I have a feeling with again the more money that's being dished out more and more, it's soon enough the average baseball time span is going to be 3-4 years. What I mean? Like,
just saw yesterday the number one women's ranked tennis player in the world, she's 25 and just announced her retirement.
25.
Just retired.
25.
So it's what's it for somebody to sign a $3 million signing bonus and play for a year, if that, and go, my life is set, I'm done.
I wonder,
you know what I mean? Like,
I wonder if that's the one reason why the Players Association was going for that increase in the minimum. I wonder if that was in the back of somebody's head when they brought that to the table. I want to make a little bit more as a minimum player because I'm only going to maybe play 3-4 seasons.
Right.
Maybe that was. I'm just hypothetically talking. I'm not saying it happened. I'm just
So here's a question for you, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. We're talking about Pete Rose. Obviously, he's banned from baseball for life for betting on the game. And we recently saw in the NFL, Calvin Ridley get suspended for an entire year for playing fantasy sports. Right? So just a year. Now, in my opinion, do I think that betting on fantasy sports is affecting and impacting the game? I don't think so. Right?
Hope not.
Unless it was involving him. But again, he's not a quarterback either, so he's got to get somebody to throw him the ball.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame?
Can he answer?
Well,
can you answer that? You don't have to.
I know. Can he answer this now that he is an employee of a major league?
You can take a pass if you need to take a pass.
So I'm if I'm being completely honest, I'm not 100% sure what my ability is to answer that question. In my opinion, I believe he should be. Again, we are talking about the greatest hitter that has ever played the game of baseball, contact wise. We are also talking about the guy who has by far the most heart in the game of baseball. There will never be another Pete Rose again. It'll never happen. And that's Pete Rose is the definition of like you said, Brian, the way the game should be played. That man would not only run through a brick wall for his coach, but that man gave 110%. Whether they were up by 20 or down by 20, you would never know. You would never, ever know. Because that man, again, it didn't matter what the situation was. Didn't matter if it was 2 outs, down by 20, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and Pete Rose was up. That man was going to give 110%. So in my opinion, I believe he should be. But again, on the contrary to that, if Rose goes in, Jackson's got to go in. And now we got to start getting into talks with Bonds, McGuire, Sosa, Clemens. Because again, now we're just talking about we're talking about the integrity of the game. So again, in my opinion, I believe it should be. But unfortunately, my opinion holds no water to the committee.
I think there's already been so many precedents made by not allowing Rose into the hall and not having Bonds in the hall and stuff like that. So if those rules are, but then, there were always the rumors about Big Papi and things like that. And we're not going to open up that can of worms, but it's, if those precedents were set, whether it's gambling or illegal substances or whatever, everybody should be treated exactly the same way. But that
my only question, my only question to you is, are you familiar with anybody who is currently in the Baseball Hall of Fame that has openly admitted to taking performance enhancers?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there somebody?
If you go through the Hall of Fame members, you'll definitely be able to search for yourself any sort of articles or anything in correlation to ball players who have admitted to taking performance enhancers who are in the MLB Hall of Fame, which again is questionable because again, you got guys like Bonds, McGuire, Sosa, Palmeiro, where it's like, what's
up
what's the difference between them? And then again, you got situational guys like Pettit, where I openly came out and I said, yes, I did, but I never did it. I did it to speed up my recovery. I didn't do it to enhance my game, although the argument there is you enhance your recovery, which ultimately enhances your game. I'm not out on the field. I'm not out on the field doing it, And now I see baseball is starting to remove a lot of substances off the banned substance list. So let's hypothetically say one day arises where a certain substance is removed and players start taking the substance now to enhance their game. Well, what about the players who did in the past?
True.
Because I think it's safe to say that prior to the steroid era, there was an era where other performance enhancers were being utilized. Was it a big deal? No, because it wasn't talked about. But all of a sudden, when 70+ home runs are hitting the season, now we got to start talking about it.
And I remember too, before the Bonds and when those conversations arose, the players would always Oh, I didn't know they were illegal. I didn't know what I was taking. My trainer was getting. I'm not saying those weren't legitimate excuses.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's the games. So another reason why the game is always evolving because it's what's going on in the world that dictates a lot of those decisions. What in Pete Rose's era, it was one way of thinking. In Barry Bonds, it was another way of thinking. And I guess it's always going to be. I've settled with it. It's always going to be that way.
Yeah, and I think when it's all said and done, is you don't know who was taking them, who was not. Back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, they were taking greenies and amphetamines all the time because of the travel. And so let's put the best players in the hall. Unless they were doing something distinctly that the opponents were not doing.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion on the matter. So, John,
see what you opened. That's all right. We opened it. We haven't. You know what? We've got a lot. We've got a few of these, and we haven't addressed it yet. So it was. I guess it was time it happened.
So, you weren't a father yet, obviously, but you were a product of DaddyBall. You see, your dad coached you for a long time, and then you have had the opportunity to coach travel ball. There's a lot of tense moments sometimes when you're coaching, with youth sports, as a father, son, mother, daughter, father, daughter combination, or when, you're coaching youth athletes and parents are involved. So if you were to give some advice to a dad coaching his son, coming from the son's point of view, give us a quick hitter, a quick piece of advice that might help that relationship and not hurt it.
Let the coaches coach. There's a reason why there is a coach.
Right.
And especially with our organization or with the BlueSox organization, coaches were hired for one reason and one reason only. That is to coach the team. And it's obviously very tough for a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old, no matter, to approach his dad and say, Dad, let my coach coach.
Yeah.
But the reality is, and I see, Bryan, you post it a lot, colleges today don't necessarily care how talented you are. Talent can be taught. I personally believe the three most important things that a coach now looks for in recruiting an athlete: how is the athlete in school, as far as whatever his grades like.
Yep.
To an extent, how is the athlete's talent on the field, but more so besides talent, how they are in certain situations. Do they hang their head, or are they positive attitudes? And lastly, what are their parents like?
Yeah.
What's the home life like? Because that is not something that's really touched on the way I should say it's something that is not it's the best way to say it would be. The best way to say it would be it's something that coaches, that's what coaches are looking for in talent today.
Yep.
That's been a consistent thing on this show. Who's ever guests that we've had on has said, you didn't specifically ask him about recruiting, but I'm just going to throw it in there. When we ask coaches that have come on here and about recruiting, parents, the coach is looking at you as well. You have to remember that, because how you act, and the kid may not act that way, but you're showing it off. So I get it, John.
So John, I know my dad was an athlete. And I feel that a lot of times parents that played the game or, played at a high level tended to kind of leave the kids alone a little bit. My dad coached me, but not a lot. He kind of let the coaches coach and didn't really overstep. But you said your dad coached you for a long time. So give us a couple of cool moments between you and your dad when he was coaching you that you can reflect on a little bit.
So I would say probably one of the coolest moments I think I've ever experienced with my dad coaching was when we beat Washington Township when I was 9 years old to win the state championship. It was the first time Marlton won the state championship in baseball at the Cal Ripken level, I believe it was. First time making it to regionals. We had the opportunity to kind of travel up and down the East Coast, partake in some pretty cool, pre-game events, whether it be, I know we had like a speed event, a home run derby, throw the ball around the horn, cool prize and stuff like that given out. As a kid, I mean, it was awesome receiving those trophies the same height as you. You were like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the coolest moments that I have with my dad when it came to coaching in baseball. But I mean, there's a bunch of other ones. Between hitting home runs on Father's Day with my dad coaching, even hitting home runs on Mother's Day. My mom attends. I mean, a lot of cool moments that have happened with my dad coaching. But as far as the most special event or the most special event, for lack of a better term, that I can recall me and my father would be winning the 9-year-old state championship. My dad being the assistant coach of that team.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's something you'll always have. That's great.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. So obviously, recently there's been a lot of MLB players that have spoken out about their displeasures with the shift. We've seen batting averages go down. Home run numbers is a totality has been up, but in my opinion, the game's getting a little boring because everybody's shifting and everybody's trying to beat the shift. So, what are your thoughts on the shift and what are your reactions to players that want to ban it?
I think the shift is ideally one of the most strategic parts of the game of baseball. I even recall a couple times, one in particular, where I had my 14-year-olds, we put a specific shift on that not necessarily due to the shift that we had or the layout that we had. We ended up losing the game due to the umpire calling timeout. Now, keep in mind, this is baseball we're playing. Due to the umpire calling timeout during the ball being live as the catcher's throwing the ball back to the pitcher, a stolen base in occurring. The umpire called timeout. There was too much hectic going on. He couldn't hear and resorted our player back, which is something I've never experienced as a player or a coach. And unfortunately, I didn't even have the opportunity to talk to him at the end of the game, which ultimately ruined our seating to play the following day. He was very quick to leave through the through the right field gate as we were on the third base dugout. So going off that play again, I can recall one of the biggest plays that we had. Bases loaded, 2 outs. I'm sorry, bases loaded, 1 out. No, bases loaded, 2 outs. I brought our center fielder into play in front of second base. I had my corners in, and I had my shortstop and second baseman more so kind of in the gaps, all playing in. Trying to essentially either make the play. Oh no, there was 1 out. Trying to make the play at home, and we brought left and center, pinched more kind of towards center. And the strategic setup behind that was again either roll 2 if we could, or get these force out at home. I had parents both on my side and both the other side going, "What the hell's going on here?" They've never seen anything like that before. And these 14-year-olds are kind of looking around at each other like, well, what are we doing right now? Something like that. And again, ultimately, there was a ball that was actually hit to our left fielder that just had enough carry on it that ended up clearing his head. Now, keep in mind, I had my center fielder and right fielder playing left center and right center. I had them playing in, obviously, due to the circumstances. But it was an event, it was at bat that occurred. The kid got good wood on it, and the ball carried, and there was nothing we could do about it. But my mindset was, get the ball, have them roll 1 over, have them hit a ball on the ground, get the force out at home. Now we go back to our regular positions. So again, that I believe the shift is whether it's a shift, whether it's a certain layout that you have on the field, that's one of the most strategic parts of the game of baseball. And I can tell you right now, I think banning the shift might have Joey Gallo batting 500 this year. But the reality is the shift is a very strategic part of the game, and the idea of implementing a pitch clock too. There's a reason why baseball is the only sport that doesn't have a time limit.
Yep.
You can't put a time limit on a strategic game. And you got people out there, you got the Sheldon Coopers that go, well, you got a time limit on chess. it's a completely different.
In my
That's
head. I was just gonna say that. He was in my head. Yeah.
It's a completely different game.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like you can't, you hear as you get older in the game of baseball, you hear that phrase tempo a lot for pitchers.
Yep.
You can't really implement that mindset, or you can't really have that mindset with a pitch clock, because there are certain hitters that pitchers know. And when you get to that college level and you start really studying certain teams within your division and certain players within that division, there's guys that you want to take more time. You want to get them out of their rhythm. Just like batters will purposely step out of the box or purposely call timeout. Yeah. You can't put a time limit on something like this, because again, you're ruining the strategic aspect of the game. And baseball, I mean, it's one of those games where you fail more times than you will ever succeed, and you are still considered one of the greats. Whereas if anything else you correlate that to in life, you're not. In fact, you're a failure. Yep. That's the brute reality of it.
Right.
So.
Well, I agree. No, that's good stuff.
So I guess we're gonna kind of transition to a different topic now, especially with you being a travel team coach. John, one thing that we're trying to accomplish on this podcast is kind of give parents an insight on higher levels of play, whether it be in any sport or and travel teams, and what to expect. And and when should my kid start? Should I be starting him at 7, or should I be starting him at 12, 13? I guess what we're asking here is what is your opinion? What would you give a parent advice on if they came up to you and said, "Listen, I want to put my kid in travel ball"? What would you say?
I mean, it's that from my point of view, that really I would kind of, number one, like to schedule a meeting with the parents where I can kind of sit them down and learn a little bit more about their kid. You have organizations out there that have the mindset, it's $3,000 to play for my team. I don't know anything about your kid. I'll tell you what, you give me $3,000, I'll give you a jersey. I'll put your last name on the back of it, and we'll call him one of ours. That was never the mindset that I have, nor that the BlueSox have. So what, again, my mindset would be, I would like to sit them down and get to know more about their kid. What position they are, how old they are, where they currently play, how long they've currently been playing. A lot of these answers will provide me a better understanding of not only the talent of the kid, but my recommendations as far as whether or not he should be playing travel baseball. The last thing we want to do, or the last thing when I was with the BlueSox, the last thing I wanted to do was just have him on my team politically, him on my team because his dad takes care of me, so on and so forth. I respect parents that are willing to help or try to kind of find a way to not buddy up with the coach, but I see it and I respect it.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you did for me. It doesn't matter how you helped me. It doesn't matter what you were able to provide for me. At the end of the day, it's your kid's talent will ultimately dictate whether or not he will be a starter, whether or not he will be a player on my team, whether or not he'll have a key role. And I think the problem with youth baseball right now, or travel baseball right now, is kids having that mindset, oh, I'm not a starter, I'm not good enough. Or I'm not an everyday player, I'm not good enough. Why am I doing this? I quit, I'm going home. And again, in life, the easiest thing to do is quit. It takes little to no effort, and it's 2 easy words. But as they get older, and I'm very fortunate that I went through this, I wasn't an everyday starter. I wasn't an everyday player. And what fueled me was my role. And my role was, when I first started playing freshman, sophomore year, my role was pinch hit, bottom 9 situation we needed. And I came up more times than not. I remember my freshman year of college, I didn't get my first start until the very last game of the season. And the very last game of the season was a make or break game to advance in the playoffs. My opportunity came with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th, runner on second, down by 1. 3-1 pitch. I cleared the left field fence, maybe 10 feet foul. And this ball hooked. And that was a scenario where that's all the coach really needed to see out of me to know what I was capable of doing. ultimately ended up grounding out to the shortstop to end game one, which forced us into a game two against the same team. Not only did I start in game two, but I went 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and a triple. That alone set me up for my sophomore year. I was set to go. And I didn't take the mindset, okay, I had a great game. I had 3 RBIs this game. Like, I'm set to go. I didn't stop there. Kept working. Because I knew, ironically enough, we had a transfer coming in from Wilmington. That was my position as well. And regardless of what I did the year before, a D2 guy coming in to play not necessarily had seniority or whatnot over me, but I had to essentially reprove myself again.
Yeah, not
so
exactly. Yeah.
So again, it's one of those things where the kids had to, or I guess when I was in that situation, I had to, again, reprove myself. And with the kids, which I'm not necessarily, blaming them, because again, I was a 13, 14-year-old, as we all were at one point. We're young, we're naive, we don't really understand it the way we do as we get older. But a lot of kids have that mindset, oh, I'm not a starter. I'm not. But the reality is your role is at times more important than my starter's role. Because I need you, in a 7-inning game, I need you in the bottom of the 7th to get me 3 more outs. I need you in the bottom of the 7th to get that big base hit that we're looking for. Because you come up clutch there, not only are you, and again, something that was always taught to me and something that was always on our practice plans was be relevant. How do you be relevant not as a starter? I remember used to taking my bat in between innings. Doesn't matter if we were in the field, doesn't matter if we were up the bat. I would go behind the dugout. I just take swings. I would take swings. Show that I'm involved, right. And a lot of the guys that sit on the bench are those kinds of guys that look over at somebody like me who's doing that. And they're like, oh, this kid's trying to, get for PG level, this kid's trying to get coach's attention. This kid's trying to, impress the coach. Whereas my mindset is, I have the same opportunity you do by sitting next to you on the bench. Let me give myself a better opportunity. How am I going to do that? I'm gonna keep myself relevant. I'm going to keep myself warmed up. I'm going to keep myself at the best possible, way I can be, stay as loose as much as I can, because I know I'm going to get that opportunity. Doesn't matter if it's the 3rd inning, the 5th inning, 7th inning, 9th inning, I'm going to get that opportunity. It's a matter of when, and the more ready I was and the more the coaches saw that, the more they called on me in situations that they needed.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think it's tough because, again, a lot of kids have that mindset. I'm not a starter. I quit. I'm done. Yeah. And they don't realize that there's a reason why you're on our team.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody has a role. And the sooner you understand your role, the more successful the team is ultimately going to be.
Yep.
And this, especially 14, 15, this is the age to really start implementing it, because whether they like it or not, these kids are going to be in high school and these kids are going to have to start fulfilling these roles that I was teaching them when they were 14.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter if it came from a travel coach like myself or if it came from their high school coach. Forget high school; it's going to come from their college coach. And the only difference between a college coach and a 14U travel head coach is the college coach can say, "I really don't care what you think or how you feel. If you don't like it, get off my team."
Exactly.
And you can't really have that mindset as a 14U. Don't get me wrong; there are organizations out there that have that mindset and they implement that mindset at the 14U level. Those are also the organizations that have top prospects around the country coming out of them.
Yeah.
So parents understand that right away. There is no, there isn't even, I remember, Bryan, some conversations with you and with George, parents hanging out by the dugouts with it. There is none of that. And some of these organizations down here, I see some of the talent with these 14U kids down here. Number one, you got kids bigger than me. 13-year-old bigger than 14, driving the ball 350, and it's just like, holy cow. But the reality is these parents are nowhere to be found. Certain organizations have private practice only. Parents drop their kids off, they leave. They're not even allowed to stay.
They're not even allowed. Yep.
So it's every organization is different.
Yep.
And you can, in a way, you can kind of tell the successful ones from the not. And don't get me wrong, there are organizations where it's more of that free-for-all type mentality, and they're still very successful. Again, location is everything, but just kind of seeing how some teams are ran down here, having that private practice, you got to get dropped off and you can't see your kid for 2 more hours. Some organizations 3 hours, some organizations having, conditioning in the morning and then practice later in the day. I mean, there's a whole routine, there's a whole regimen that these kids follow. And these kids, I mean, are dedicated. And I want to give a quick shout out to JJ Ortiz. But I remember looking at JJ as one of my bigger guys, one of my younger guys, one of my bigger guys. And then I see kids down here and I'm like, let me see your birth certificate because I don't believe you. I don't believe you. There's no shot you're 12 and your beard's thicker than mine. It's not happening. But it just, you really see the difference in dedication in certain organizations versus other ones. You see not only the dedication from the athletes, but the dedication from the parents as well. And the commitment that's made by both parties, in a way, is really unique.
For sure.
It's kind of hard for me to, I understand what John's saying about like down there in Florida where the parents just drop them off. And that's, and that is a big component of how the players play. Man, that's pretty much how I played ball. When my mother and father had to always go to work or do something, whatever. So I always, whenever we practiced or stuff like that, I'd always go by myself. But since I went down that route and now I'm so involved with my sons, that would be a little difficult for me to just be like, hey, drop them off and come pick them up in 3 hours. I understand the reasoning behind it.
That's how it always was when us.
And I would do it. I would absolutely do it. I wouldn't pitch a fit about it, but it would be hard. But it's interesting, and hopefully my son gets to that level. So, John, so like 13, you started travel. When did you start playing travel ball?
I was 12, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I started when I was 12.
Do you think that that's like a general good age to start them at, or do you agree that, or is there an age you think that you should not start at playing travel ball?
I personally believe it's based on the individual's talent and commitment. Gotcha. I've seen kids in at the academy that work with Coach Doug, 8, 9, 10-year-olds that are in there 3-4 times a week, committed, wanting to play. Those are the kids that I would absolutely recommend. Let's get in travel ball early. Whereas you got other 12-year-olds that or other athletes, I should say, that have actually played for me, where there's nothing wrong with it, but the interest level isn't necessarily there the way it is with that 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old. So I firmly believe it's really as far as offering the opportunity to play travel ball, I really believe it's depicted on the commitment level, and again, not so much the talent, because again, talent can be taught. You can't teach hustle, you can't teach heart. You either have it or you don't. And again, if you hold the fat end of the bat and swing with the skinny end, as long as you're willing to run through a brick wall for me, I'll teach you how to swing the bat properly. I'll teach you how to field the ground ball properly. I can't teach you how to run hard through first base. It's something you better be able to do, or doesn't matter how talented you are. Your talent's only going to take you so far. It's what can you provide besides talent that's going to help this team? Are you a leader? Are you somebody who's going to take charge, or whatever the case may be? I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it just for anybody. Again, there are organizations out there that say, hey, we'll take anybody, doesn't matter. But I never played for a team like that. And the way I was coached, I was never coached like that. So that was the last thing that I wanted to do with the BlueSox organization was let's just take anybody we can. And I'm going to play you because your parents helped me, and I'm going to play you because your dad took me out last week. And I'm going to,
definitely.
You know what I mean? So it's.
No, I get it. And that's one reason why I asked my son to try out for this team, was because I know of the other travel teams in the area that some are like that. Some are a little bit more political. Some will just take anybody. And I kind of wanted to stay away from both of those sides. So I guess go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think, if I'm being, transparent here, it's something that's never going to stop or change.
No.
Politics, I believe, will always be a factor.
Yep.
Who in the world we live in today, it's all about who you know. It has nothing to do with who you are as a person. It has nothing to do with how talented you are as a person. You could be Joe Schmo, but if you know XYZ, I don't care who you are, what you've done, how to an extent. It's beneficial. It's beneficial when you're that person and you're being provided the help. It's a completely different story when you're not that person. And you know what you're capable of doing, and it was given to somebody else because of who they know.
That's
So
been a common theme for us, just, with everything, with recruiting, with coaching, how important networking is and utilizing the people that to help you in what your goals are and what you're trying to get. So we're going to go down another avenue real quick. Pizza. Utica has some great pizza.
Travel ball to pizza.
I know you grew up down in Long Island. Great pizza downstate. Okay? What were some of your favorites in the Utica area, pizza-wise, and what to you in general makes a great pizza?
He's thinking who he's
you're getting really hungry right now. I know.
Well, I was going to say, what do we got? It's almost 1 o'clock or 12:30. It's lunchtime for me. The tomato pies. The tomato pies in Utica.
Okay.
Venison. So I've never had tomato pie.
I was going to say it's not even down in New York. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I number one, I don't like pizza cold, and number two, I never thought I'd like tomato pie. I'm not the square type. I like the triangle type pizza. I don't like the grandma type, square pizza or Sicilian pizza. So tomato pie, Venice, game changer, absolute game changer. As far as best pizza,
you had one choice. You had one.
I would probably, and this might sound a little crazy, I don't know if you've ever had pizza from Tavallo's before.
Haven't, no.
I have. It's not my forte, but everybody's got their own. Yeah.
I was a huge fan of it. I loved it. I thought it was really good. I mean, again, Venice is up there. 2 a.m. Lucan's is the go-to. There's no arguing that. It only becomes a problem when there's none left. But I mean, there's definitely a lot of different options to choose from in Utica, which is great because being Italian and living in an area for as long as I did, that is a lot of old Italian traditions. Was very unique in itself and was awesome for me. But I would say overall, probably Tavallo's. Weekends after midnight, Lucan's.
Okay. We know
that would probably be
where John was late at night on the weeknights. We know he was down on Barrack Street.
And neither of those made our Sweet 16. Was surprising.
I know when we I don't know if you saw our our pizza video we just put up a couple days ago, but within the last 2 days we had 33 pizzerias pop up. And and obviously the top three were Oskin Eats and Joe's Pizza and Venice.
How about Parkway?
Parkway was on. Parkway made the Parkway. So basically, what we're doing is that we took 16 out of the 33 because we're in March. So we're gonna. So we made our own bracket, and Parkway was on it. Joe's. I mean, so we took the top 16, and now Bryan and I are going to get even more fatter. Hence, DaddyBall and DadBod. So that's it.
Yes, I love it.
So
I love it. I'd be a great fit for that too.
I know you would. You would be, so if you're ever back.
I know. So if you come back within like the next week or so,
what's kind of funny is that every guest we've had on so far has had the same fit as us.
Yeah.
Maybe we should branch out and get some really, really fit dads on here.
What are you trying to say right now?
You know what? Listen, John, when you got some time, go back and find the videos on the BlueSox's YouTube page and the Facebook page.
Okay.
Go back and watch the video, and I made a comment in there, and I said for all you people who have 6-packs and 8-packs and live in this area.
Exactly.
So it's like
good for you.
Good for you. So it's but all right, we go with the
So no, that's good. So what we want to do is we've been asking our guests some quick hitter questions to kind of close out. Just get your quick thoughts, your quick reactions, and we're going to kind of start. Me and Tom are going to go back and forth.
Yep.
So you've got one moment in baseball. The moment's going to win or lose you the game, pending your results. You did a little bit of pitching, right? You're a great defender. Would you rather have that opportunity as a hitter or with yourself in the field, knowing the ball is going to get hit to you?
As a hitter.
Oh, right out the gate. No
hesitation.
No
as a hitter.
hesitation. That's the first time there's been absolutely no hesitation. Everybody's been like,
yeah.
And we've had a good mixed reaction.
Yep.
We've had either people wanting to be in the box or be out in the field. So I get it. So that was, but nope. John was like, nope, I'm hitting the ball.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep. Absolutely. That's those are the moments I live for.
Well, you know what? Kind of on that topic, you know, if you want to be the hitter, what was your hardest pitch to handle while you're in the box?
Probably a changeup, honestly. I found myself capping a lot of balls to second, just being out in front. I faced a good amount of pitchers that threw a very, very effective changeup, I should say. You know, I've always had fast hands, so I never really worried about striking out to the fastball. In fact, that was probably my favorite pitch. But at the same time, you know, I was able to control myself and not necessarily worry about being out in front of the curveball. And again, as you get older in the game of baseball, you kind of have you develop a mindset to where it's doesn't matter if it's 0-0, 0-1, 0-2, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, you know, 1-1, 2-1. You kind of have an idea, and as a hitter, you're taught and go in there with a clear head. You know, you don't want to be guessing, you don't want to be. But with me, it was you know, 0-0 pitch, I was sitting belt high fastball. You know, 2-1 pitch, I was sitting. I kind of had certain expectations, and especially again, you get to a level where you start facing pitchers more often. You kind of know what they're going to throw you before the at bat even occurs. Yeah. Right. So you know, I think the pitch that I struggled with the most was probably the changeup, especially from the pitchers who were just filthy with them. I found myself, you know, being out in front a lot, kind of capping balls to second. So.
Yeah, no, that's great.
No, yeah, I think that's the first change. Yeah, that's the first time we got to change it. Maybe I don't.
No, I think everybody's been saying change.
Yeah, really? Oh, we've been talking to softball players. So their softball coaches or fast pitch players. You know, they've been saying what the rise ball.
Rise ball. Yeah,
they were there.
I hate that pitch. I hate that pitch.
Yeah, you've had a little experience last summer playing softball, and that's the game changer.
I stepped in here against Bryan on Sunday because he was pitching, you know, doing fast pitch with the girls. It's the first time I played ball all the way through in college, and then I played slow pitch, you know, like every other, you know, 20-year-old in this area likes to do, you know, just another reason to keep drinking. But I got in the cage with him the other day and had him fast pitch me. And I said, don't throw me any junk. I just want to see if I can hit something. And of course he fucking throws me junk. So
I've struck it out a couple times, and I got some embarrassing strikeouts being 20 minutes out in front. But I'll tell you, the grunt that you have, it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you watch Trevor Bauer pitch. But that man, doesn't matter if he's throwing a 98-mile-an-hour fastball or a 68-mile-an-hour curveball. It's the same grunt, and you never know. And that's what pisses me off because I'm out in front. I'm like, I knew that pitch was coming, and I'm still out in front.
That's great. No, that's great that you brought him up because I've been watching him and Eric Sim a ton. I've been loving watching Trevor Bauer and you know, live ABs.
Those are always fun to watch.
Sim and Trevor Bauer, their channels are great.
Awesome,
jabronis.
All right, so again, another food question. All right. So this is going to be your last meal. You can request it. What is your go-to meal? What's the last meal you're going to eat?
It froze for a second. I know we were going to lose.
The last meal I can ever eat.
Yep.
My mom's baked ziti and her meatballs.
Ooh, I'm getting hungry. That sounds good.
Wow.
That sounds good.
My mother's baked ziti and her meatballs easily.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Mom will love that. When we post this, make sure mom sees that. Make sure mom sees that.
Absolutely.
So, well, we already touched on that one. Watch baseball on TV or be there in person?
I think it depends on the game. I think it depends on the importance of
Regular
the game.
season game, regular season game, halfway.
I mean, I would love to be there in person.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's tough being in Utica, whether it's Yankees fans, Mets fans, or any other fans in that matter.
Yeah.
It's a 3-hour minimum ride.
Yep.
You know, so it's tough in that aspect. You know, guys and girls in South Dakota, I don't really know what they do. But if I had the option, I'd rather be there in person than watch on TV. It's more electrifying. It's a amazing view, the atmosphere. It's, again, coming from a guy who loves baseball, you know, I would love to be, you know, in the center of it. So,
okay. All right. So kind of a little different question, but kind of on the same level, I guess. What's your favorite sport to watch?
Baseball.
We got to change.
Define sport. Is wrestling.
Listen, we're not having that on this podcast. I'm not even opening that can of worms.
If wrestling's a sport, I might have to throw that one up there.
Well, like WWE wrestling. What we're
like World Wrestling Entertainment, baby. Gotta throw that one up there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I consider it a sport. I mean,
listen. If what was the old saying? If it's almost a sport, we got it here.
We got exactly. Exactly.
The Ocho.
Oh, that's cool.
All right. So last question we got for you. What was the best part about playing baseball for your dad?
We already talked about that.
I would say the best part was not only having him as my biggest fan and my biggest supporter, but having giving my dad the opportunity to watch me grow and play the game that I love, the same game that he played when he was a kid, creating memories that will never be forgotten. You know, I even remember, you know, to this day, my dad still has a lot of my old gear from when I was a kid. And I remember before I got my first baseman's mitt, before going to UC, I got a new first baseman's mitt. And my dad asked to have my old black Mizuno one. And when I say this glove was ripped, I mean, to this day, it's ripped, it's torn. I've had that glove, I can't even tell you how long. I never understood. And I was younger, but I didn't understand. I'm like, why you want to keep this? What? Yeah. And as you get older, it makes sense. You know, you understand. And I would say the best again memories that were created, I think, you know, throughout my childhood, besides, you know, family time together, would be giving my dad that opportunity to watch me grow and excel in a game that we both loved, and giving him, you know, the opportunity to watch me grow and progress as the years went on. So
that's awesome. That's awesome, John. Well, thank you again. We miss you up here. But, you know, for Tom, I'm Bryan. It's DaddyBall Podcast. John Franchi, keep it up with Miami.
Thank you.
I hope you stay there.
Thank you, guys.
Much as we want you back, we don't want you back.
Yeah.
All right? Keep it on. Good luck.
We're always happy when people get out of here. But we miss them. Well, we miss them in the same aspect.
Absolutely. So. All right.
No, I'm glad, guys. Thank you.
John, thanks for being on.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please like here.
Subscribe up here.
And to see other episodes and shorts, click here.
Thanks a bunch.